You are an architect and you want to use AI to produce some images. It's a great idea. There is a lot of possibilities, but often people don't know where to start. So in this video, I will show you 4 tools that you can use from the less complex to the more complex to produce architecture images. So let's see on my screen. So the first tool that I will talk about is ChatGPT. So maybe it's the first place where you already try to make some images. But for those who didn't try in ChatGPT, I just want to introduce this place because to me there are some clear advantages. Is that you already pay for ChatGPT, so you can make an image very easily. Also, you don't have really to learn how to prompt because ChatGPT is doing the conversion between your way of describing your images and the way it handles it. But after there are also some clear drawbacks. So if I search for an image that I may have generated on that session, I see some. Basically, there are some default defects like this. For example, you see it's not connected correctly. The material are not very precise. It's not really a photorealistic style. And also you have some, for example, here it's too exaggerated. It's quite hard to have something that is subtle with DALL-E. But you could use it as a way to have some basic visual version of what you want to represent. For example, you could use ChatGPT to help you generate some concept, and after try to imagine this concept with DALL-E. Also, something to be noted here, you have the exact prompt that DALL-E is using to generate these images. So this prompt is not done manually by me, but it's done by ChatGPT itself when I describe it. So something that is useful with ChatGPT is that we can talk about the image we want to generate. Progressively, I can update the demand and it will update the prompt as well. So this is great. Also, I make some try to generate some prompt. If I don't have any idea of prompt, I want to generate something. So he show me some option, and here I can try to see what this option looks like. This is possibilities. Also, I make a try to. So this one I think is the best one for now that I generated in that session. But you see that the details are not very correct. The lines are not aligned correctly. It's a bit too contrasted, maybe. It's okay for illustration, but for architecture, maybe it's too much. And I cannot really control everything. So this is the basic form of generation. It is when you want to generate with a prompt with a simple text. Now we are going to see another example with a tool which is a bit more advanced that you probably know, which is Midjourney. So if you go to Midjourney, first, we have a dedicated UI, a dedicated interface to handle the image generation. I think this is great. I mean, in this feed, in this dashboard, I have all the images that I may have generated. So I can compare them. I can even reuse them. I can copy the prompt. I can also explore what other people are doing. So it's a platform which is dedicated to image generation. So you could get some inspiration, and the more you will use it, the better you will know the prompt, the good prompt, and what is possible to generate. After, it's a platform that are targeted not so much for architects, but for creative in general. I mean by that some illustrators or people who want some image like that. The type of image are quite different. If you compare this one with this one in as a painting, this one is like a cartoon. This one is like a product shooting. There are all kind of images, but that are very optimized for the style of the images. So maybe you could be frustrated by the result because maybe, for example, if I look at an image like this, I don't like it because it looks like real estate photography, and bad real estate photography. The style of the project is bad as well. But some people want this type of image. After, I can look at this one. This one is a bit too illustration-like. But here I have a factor that I use to stylize my image. So if I don't want an image which is so in this style, I can have some control. So the control that you can have with Midjourney is far better than ChatGPT, but is less than with tool like Stable Diffusion. But you can already control, for example, the size of the final image. You can control the model on which it is executed, because Midjourney has some evolution as well. So you could use different versions of the model. You could use even some personalization. So here you have an option to personalize your image. So it means that you share some image with Midjourney that you like, and you will have a style which is your own style. You could also play with this factor. So if you want something that is more realistic, it's better to keep it low. The awareness or the variety is how often you could be surprised, because I think one of the good, very main aspect of Midjourney is the fact that it produces some images that maybe are not good, or maybe are very good. You could be very surprised by, you could have some good surprise or some bad surprise. For example, this is a bad surprise, and sometimes I had some good surprise. This is very strange. Maybe it's the prompt, maybe other thing. But at the same time, you could have some photographies that you could find in architecture magazine and so on. So after, when you have some things that you like, you have a few options here. So you can make some variation. It means that if you like something, you keep it and you make some more variation to find maybe something better. So it's still random, but you have the chance to find a better version of this iteration. So it's more, to me, the best tool to find ideas, to find inspiration is targeted towards that. After, you could also do some kind of zoom like this. You see here, I made a zoom of the same image. It's like if I was doing a traveling to have a broader view of the image. You have some more option. You could share an image, style image to get a reference, and so on. And now it's quite new, so I still does not have access, but this edit part allow you to upload some image that you have to edit them. And the good thing with that is that you could upload some 3D light 3D export. So that you could use it a bit the same way than Stable Diffusion. It means to make some rendering. So it's still the early stage of these possibilities in Midjourney. So probably it will evolve in the next months, and there will be more possibilities to have more control, because we as an architect are not the only creative who need this type of control. For example, if you think about game creators, they also have some constraint, maybe less than us, but they still have some constraint. So I encourage you to create an account on Midjourney, maybe have a subscription on it, because unfortunately there is no free version in Midjourney. But it's not that expensive. It's around $10 per month. So I think it's a good option to have, to at least to test it for a few months to see if it fits with your creation workflow. So now we are going to pass to another tool which is dedicated to architect. And there are a few platforms out there that are dedicated to architecture. There are some that are integrated into the design software, into Revit, for example. But to me, the best platform I found so far is named Render. So Render is a platform which is dedicated to architecture, but also well organized, because it's there is not too many use cases, but the use cases that are chosen are exactly the ones that the architect is looking for generally. So here I have also a subscription on it, and the price of the subscription is not so expensive. It's a bit more expensive than Midjourney, around $15 per month, but I think it worth totally the price, because the work that you will achieve on this platform is, for example, to do some renders. So maybe not the final renders, maybe not the renders of a competition for now, but you could do a lot of quick renders. For example, if you are designing some small project. So this one is a render. I found the base image from an influencer on LinkedIn. I will share the link on the description as well if you want. And you see the adequation with the drawing is quite good. And after I added a prompt to add more fit between the image and the image and the base image, but it's already very good. So this is what really changed the game if you have some control. So how does this control works? I show you another example. This is from Sketch. So with a simple sketch like this, you could create and position all the elements. So it's not exactly what you decide. For example, here he totally interpreted the left part of the image as a window. In the sketch is not so clear that it is a window. So maybe the designer wanted a window, maybe not, but this kind of surprise could happen. The bottom wall, you see it's wood, but here there is no indication if it is wood or not. So to make it a bit more clear what kind of image you need to suggest to the AI model what you expected. For example, Giuliani, okay, this writing, it was just in York because it's too small and it's unrelated with the rest of the image. This is kind of I don't know, some device, but here it was only the base of the column. So you see there are some misunderstanding between the AI and the image, but you can think about the base image a bit like a prompt which is localized, and more and more you will learn which type of image works good, which type of image don't work so good. So if I just browse use cases that are possible inside this application, so you have text to render, which is similar image generations that we made with Midjourney, with ChatGPT, DALL-E. But here you have maybe a few more options. You could, for example, give a reference image. So a bit like in Midjourney, we can add a reference image to give a style, to give some indication, but not precisely control the geometry. After, if you go to other use cases like sketch to render, here you see that we can choose a style of fine-tune model. So the model that is using is based on Stable Diffusion, because it's not possible for an application, a tool like this, to create your own model. So many tools on the market are using the same Stable Diffusion base model, but on top of this base model is possible to customize. So they are doing the customization. You could also learn how to do the customization, but you need to pass to the next step using Stable Diffusion directly, so I will show you in a moment. But this application has already done the job of fine-tuning the model with some styles that may interest the architecture world. So the realistic styles, sketches. Sketches is interesting because you could pass a realistic photo and create a drawing. So this example is not so great because it's a photo, but we can imagine even a 3D, light 3D that you want not in realistic style but as a sketch. And if you are not talented as a sketcher, many people don't really like their sketches. It's a way to get this style of sketch without having to sketch yourself, and I think it's really great because it's open a new field of creativity with AI. So I give you another example maybe of this kind of photo. I will show you, for example, this. And this is a counter example because here you see if I compare, for example, the people were interpreted not as real people. This personage is not very nice as well. So you see, we need to learn some things that work, some things that don't work. And this was not working very well. Here also it's a test I made with an illustration in 3D. So I know it's not exactly the good base image. So maybe there was a problem. So I test with another one. So this one I use it many times. You see, it's a very simple 3D base image, and we can place some material here and there. It's very useful. So when you are using the sketch to render or 3D base to render, you have the option to choose between interior, exterior. And after you have the image trends that allow you to define does the base image control everything or does it control nearly nothing. Generally the good ratio is to keep it low, but not low, but not too much neither, because otherwise the image won't be very good. So you need to combine a prompt which defines the material, which defines the light, which defines is there any people or not, this kind of stuff. And also the creativity give AI sort of freedom, and it's good also to keep the freedom. Otherwise, the result won't be very accurate and very realistic. So here you see how I can change an image and just change the color of it. And finally, you could add also some reference image that give a style. For example, if you want to style some materials and have something similar to these materials, maybe you could describe with a prompt, but sometimes it's more easy to describe with an image. So you have an image to place for the geometry and an image for the materials. So this is Render. I think it's a very good tool to start because it's simple, but at the same time the quality of image is good, and you could make your try. You could understand what work, what don't work. You can even modify an image. Here you have an option to modify an image. Is what I did here. I added this entry here. So it's a good option for architects, I think. So next, if you want to go further, maybe you listen about stable diffusion. So we can use stable diffusion locally. There are some tools like Confi UI. I don't know if you heard about it, which tool where some nodes are related together. So here you find again the prompt. Here you find the type of model. You can change the model. Here you find the size of image, and finally here you have some detailed settings that you could play with. One of the settings that you could play, for example, is the number of steps. You know, I don't know if you know, but AI images are generated in different steps, and if you have not enough steps, is not enough render. If you have too many steps, it's useless. But in the middle, you could play and have different results. You could also play with the seed. The seed is the image unique or not? Because I don't know also if you know, but AI image is generated from random noise, so many pixels that are randomly chosen, and it converts this noisy image toward a true image. But the noise itself play a role in the diversity of the image. For example, if I keep this same seed, I will have something very similar in the next generation if I click again on validate. By the way, I can here, for example, it's fixed. So it means that if I queue a prompt, it will also be very similar. So this is for Confi UI. So Confi UI could be a bit complex, but the advantage is that you could load all these nodes that you see on screen. You could find them again. If you work later, you don't have to remember everything to unset everything. You could export your workflow configuration. So here you click on save, and here you name your workflow, and you could save it on your computer. And this is useful because you could generate some workflow for every type of action. You could generate a workflow if you start with a simple prompt. You could generate a workflow if you use a control image. You could even use Confi UI for tasks like adding a logo on top of your image, or rotating your image, or upscaling your image. So it's a kind of really open factory for your image. And if you are an architect, probably you have a very specific workflow. And if you want to achieve very specific workflows, there is no other way than learning Confi UI, learning Stable Diffusion. And on that channel, on my blog, and also I have some some training about that, you could also learn Stable Diffusion. But I know that not all architects can want to dedicate the time to learn it. Also, maybe it's too complicated for you. Maybe you don't you want a tool that do everything, and you don't want to bother about the detail. So in that case, I think Render is very good. If you want to spend time and you are interested in the subject, Stable Diffusion is quite good. So to use it, you could use locally, you could use it in the cloud. There are some services that allow you to run Stable Diffusion without having to buy some computer for that, because AI is requiring a lot of power, a lot of especially of RAM, of memory, of graphical memory. And if you don't have a computer like that, you need to buy it, or you can use some services like Run Diffusion. I will show you. So here, Run Diffusion, it's basically you create an account. After, you can pay credit, and this credit allow you to use it for 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. So you pay only what is needed, and here you find the different interfaces that you can use to manage Stable Diffusion. Because contrary to the other tools, Stable Diffusion could be managed in multiple ways. So multiple way, because you can use it locally, you can use it on the cloud, you can use it also using API. I will talk about that to finish. But multiple way also because there are multiple interface. You have an interface like this that are more like a form with many options. One that I show you, which is Confi UI, which is more many nodes linked together. You have another one which is more simple. It is named Focus with 3 O. So it's a complex environment, but there are many possibilities. And finally, I show you an API use of Stable Diffusion. So here I am on a site named Replicate. So Replicate is a site or an application that allows to generate image, not directly by connecting and pasting the prompt, creating the prompt, but you can also use it inside from your other application. For example, I take an example. You have a list of your concepts that you want to develop in a spreadsheet, and you are able with Replicate to connect together Replicate with your spreadsheet and generate some image using Stable Diffusion, and especially the latest model of Stable Diffusion, just using their service. So it's very convenient, but you can also connect and pass the prompt here directly. It's also possible. It's not just designed for that, because it's designed to be called by other services. And I show you this specific example. Why? Because basically, you can run Stable Diffusion, but Stable Diffusion is not that simple. It means that there is several models, and on top of this model, there are some fine-tuned version of this model. And among all the fine-tuned version of this model, there are some architects like Ismail Selait who develop their own fine-tuned model on top of Stable Diffusion. So this is also a way to test Stable Diffusion, at least the quality of image, without having to bother about the installation, does it fit to you or no? Because I think the base element is, do you like the image, the quality of image that are produced by Stable Diffusion? And so Ismail is fine-tuning this model with architecture image, so with a style which is quite subtle, I think, like this one, that we could find in architecture magazine, architecture online platform, and so on. And it's quite different from the style that you could see in DALL-E or ChatGPT. And here you see that the quality of image is quite good. And here you could even see the prompts that he used for that. He's using a model named Flux Schnell, so a fast version of Flux. But on top of Flux, he's using his own settings, which is called LoRa. So you see here it's quite artistic, like a photography with some vignetting around. I think it's very interesting, the type of image that you could produce using this way. And Stable Diffusion is really interesting, but I agree that it's not for every use. So to summarize, which tool to use as an architect to make architecture image? So I think to start, you can start with ChatGPT DALI or with Midjourney. I think Midjourney is preferable because the style of DALI is not very fine. Of course, it's 10 bucks more than just the ChatGPT subscription, but I think it's worth the cost. And there you could try with style, you could try all the possibilities that is offered by AI, and progressively the platform will add more and more features, so stay tuned. And after, the second option is if you want to test the rendering with AI and you want to have all the power of Stable Diffusion without the complexity, I highly suggest you to test Render. And Render is very efficient. You could try what works good, which type of control image you need to have so that you can have a better result. And finally, if you want to be free to explore all the possibilities of Stable Diffusion power, which is a more powerful AI, the one that power all the tools on the market mostly, except Midjourney, except DALI, but you could use the open source version of it. You could use the interface like the Confi UI, which is to me the best because it allows you the more possibilities. Of course, it is some work, but remember when you learn how to do some rendering with 3D and tools like Enscape, for example, it was not simple either. So I think it worth the work, and progressively you will be able to do more and more type of images. So to me, finally, there is three options. If you want to just keep with inspiration, or if you want to do some rendering, it depends, and you will find the tool, I hope, that fit with your workflow. So thank you very much, and see you in the next video about AI in IoT. Bye bye.